All right. Welcome everyone to Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. Welcome to December. Wow, we are in December, the last month of the year. We're excited to have you all today for tuning in to Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. I am the visionary and host, Mone't S. Horton. And of course, I am tuned in or joined with our fabulous co-host, Tiara Parker. Say hey to the people.
Hey, everybody. Happy December. And boy, is it cold out there. This happened like overnight.
About that, about the cold. Yes. I mean, it's definitely out there. And so I had to grab a coat. I went out to church yesterday and I said, wait a minute. Wasn't quite at the tights yet, but yeah, so we are there. And I know that, let me just say that this week is your week, you know. This can we do a drum roll? This Tiara's birthday. Lady Tia's birthday is Friday, right?
It is. It is.
So happy birthday to you, an early birthday.
Thank you.
You are just phenomenal, just blazing the trail, doing so many things and launching so many things that's new and exciting. And so I want to congratulate you
Thank
and
you.
give you a shout out and happy early birthday. We got to celebrate, and I'm sure you got some things going on your end, but most of all, taking time out for yourself because you're
Yeah.
always pouring out to others. So again, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So everybody, again, we want to welcome you in. Here at Sister to Sister, this is your time to take out for you. We're coming to you earlier today at 12 noon. So go ahead, and if you're taking your lunch break or however, tune in. Even those who are maybe listen back to the replay, we want to welcome you in. Get your pen, your paper. We have a super awesome special guest, first time guest here today. And I want to go ahead and share her bio. We have joined today Mrs. ACQUANIA ESCARNE. She is a real estate investor. With an investment portfolio worth 34 million. She is also a financial coach, hotel owner, podcast host, and life insurance producer. Y'all ready for this? She is committed to helping women find financial freedom and build wealth. In 2018, she created The Purpose of Money, an online platform teaching women of color how to build generational wealth, not wealth for one day, but generational wealth, $1 at a time. Her passion for personal finance and investing began when she was in high school. At 16 years old, she opened a Roth Individual Retirement Account and has been saving and investing every since. Without further ado, let's welcome to the stage Miss ACQUANIA. Welcome.
Yes.
How are you? I think we still have you on mute. Let me
Thank
see
you
if you
so
can.
much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Love that intro. I need to hire you and you need to go on tour with me.
Yes, listen, we're open. We're definitely excited to have you today. Talking about finances, money. Everyone is not comfortable talking about and sharing their money story. Some get uptight. It's not, it just really depends. I know from my experience, where people are in terms of how they grew up. All of those things actually roll into our relationship. How about that with money? And you are the expert today and sharing with us I had a moment to just look at all of the phenomenal things that you are doing, that you have done, and you were just doing phenomenal things.
Thank you. I appreciate you. But what you're talking about is real. Trauma relate when it comes to your relationship with money is real, and sometimes it is also generational because there are things that our parents have done or continue to do in our presence that shapes our mindset when it comes to money. And some of it is honestly innocent, right? Like when people be like, "You think money grows on trees?" And then kids grow up to believe that money is limited, that they should deprive themselves of certain things because money needs to be used for other purposes. But a lot of times that comes from a poverty mindset where at the time, maybe your family was definitely struggling financially or just didn't have the additional resources to put money where you wanted it to go, right? But they were saying that in response to sort of like attacking you for thinking we could go to McDonald's today or, whatever it might have been that you asked for. And that was the response. And so people have to take note of that and sometimes re-engineer their mindset to think money is abundant, wealth is abundant, because the Bible says we are all meant to have abundance and God wants to provide. So we should not sit and think that it's limited, right? And it's something that we have to retrain our thoughts, our process, and even what we tell our kids, because we don't want them to grow up thinking the same thing.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So as I was looking at, and thank you for those nuggets. Did y'all listen to all? Woo, yes. So when I was looking at your story and kind of reading your bio and all of the wonderful things that you're doing, your story, let's talk about training your kids up, right? And that mindset around wealth, exchange or eliminate that trauma, and really embrace the abundance. So let's talk about how you got started on this journey and how your parents, I guess, launched you into this place.
Yeah, no, that's a great segue. So, honestly, first of all, my mom was a full-time entrepreneur when I was a child. So, I know the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and I still chose to become one. So, that tells you something right there. My mom taught me grit. She taught me the importance of being an independent business owner, but she also showed me what to do differently. As an entrepreneur, for example, I hired a coach, I have a team, I don't try to wear all the hats. I'm so grateful that I had that experience so I could do things differently. My father, on the other hand, was in the military. He retired after 22 years and then went into different jobs until he retired from the VA, or the Veterans Association, where he helped other vets. So my dad, although he had a government job most of my life, I got to witness him build a real estate portfolio outside of work by leveraging what he did make to purchase passive income generating properties. And so that was a really good example. But the most important thing he did was at 16, he gave me a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I read it cover to cover. And at 16, that's why I opened my Roth IRA. It wasn't because my dad specifically told me, but his way of telling me was giving me the book and saying, read it, because he's a man of very few words. But when he says something, you listen. And so I listened and I took action. And so when most kids were like taking their summer paycheck at jobs, because I was a cashier at a retail store, I invested my entire first paycheck, $252, went to the bank. It did not go to the clothes in the store that I was selling, which a lot of my coworkers did. And I think that made a difference in my mindset too, because I decided at 16, like, I don't want to work forever. I want to be able to retire early, and this is how I'm going to do it. So both of my parents instilled in me great qualities that shaped who I am today. But reading and that knowledge was key. And so I want to say to parents who feel like they're not in a financial position that they would like to be, and they're not sure what they can teach their kids, you can always teach your kids education. Whatever you don't know, you can get a book and share with them. You can do together. I have some clients who go through improving their finances with their children so that they can set a better example, because the excuse that I didn't know is no longer a good enough excuse anymore.
You have so much out there, right? She just dropped a whole lot of nuggets, right? First of all, you have to know what your you know, like you said, your mom style, she showed you. Your dad, he's like a little bit more reserved, but he gave you the book, the knowledge that unlocked the key and launched you even further. And that's such a beautiful thing. That's one book, one of the first books in business that I actually learned as well. And as I was reading your bio, you know, the fact that you said, hey, my mom was an entrepreneur on both sides of my family, it was entrepreneur. So when I'm like, y'all, it's like in my blood, you know,
Yes.
and with the ebbs and the flows of entrepreneurship, to still make the choice to launch, to move forward, to stick to it, that says that speaks volumes in itself, like you said in the beginning. And so you're right. Even if you know, your parents might not know how to, or there is a parent listening who might not know how to articulate where to start, if you see something in your child, right? If you discern that, oh, it's an inkling, it's a gift, there's a talent, being able to expose them to the knowledge, even if you don't have it yourself, is so important, to give that opportunity to them, to help them to move the needle forward further than you're doing yourself. And in my mind, it takes me to legacy. You know, really being able to build that legacy. So with that knowledge, you've been able to build an empire, build and just doing so many things. So can you talk to us today about what you're doing? I know you just launched in not as recent, but like 2018, right? The Purpose of Money. So share with us what that's all about.
Absolutely. So, the Purpose of Money is a platform that educates women how to build generational wealth $1 at a time. Our focus is primarily women because, you know, my parents were divorced. So, I was raised by a single mom, and my dad was very active financially and physically, but he was in the military. So, he was traveling all over the world. He lived in Germany for a long time, and then Texas, and etc. So my target audience is women because most women are heads of household or the handler of finances in their household, and they need the most support, in my opinion, when it comes to the step-by-step ways to build generational wealth. But it's since 2018, the Purpose of Money has transitioned into a podcast, a blog, as well as financial coaching, and a business that helps provide the resources that you actually need. So I sell life insurance. I can find you real estate opportunities if you want to partner with me and invest, and other ways to give you that financial planning you need to build a legacy. But what I also encourage people to do, honestly, is really leveraging your 9 to 5 income, because I did that. I skipped that part, but for 15 years, I worked for the government as a U.S. diplomat, and that government paycheck funded my business. So I have been able to understand how to leverage my paycheck, my employee benefits, and more to really maximize that income so I can leave, right? And so I was able to say deuces to the government in April of 2023, but I also have that experience that I can use to help clients understand, how do I leverage my employee benefits, insurance, health savings accounts, and other things to generate tax-free income, to generate generational wealth, and other things like that. And so that's where I kind of started. But it's been interesting to see that even in the real estate space, I've really honed in on investing in hotels since COVID. And that has been where so many people have been intrigued, because they rarely see Black hotel owners, and they barely ever see the opportunity to invest in hotels. So that's something that I've been providing to our community, and providing the platforms and the deals that minorities can invest in to become hotel investors.
So yes, that has definitely piqued my interest. The first thing is that you're 9 to 5. Sometimes when you get an idea, you know, individuals like, oh, I got an idea, I want to start a business, I want to turn my side hustle or whatever you call it into a business. It's like, oh, I want to leave my 9 to 5. And unless, the Lord says, make that turn, jump on out there. We must realize and know that your 9 to 5 is your investment to help you to do that. And we should have a plan. We should have a strategy. When I shifted from my job, it was only because the good Lord said so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Please say that again, because people don't hear that part. They just hear, I'm tired of this job, I'm fed up with this boss, and they quit. But I agree with you 100%. I did a 40, like full transparency, I did a 40-day fast before I even decided to leave my job. But God told me on the 5th day, like, you are about to transition into something else. But I still did all 40 days so that I was clear on the plan of how I would transition. And then I didn't even say when. I said to him, okay, I'll finish out this assignment. I think that means July I'll be transitioning. And he made a way for me to leave in April. So when you leave it up to the Lord, he will orchestrate your steps, but you have to ask his permission, because otherwise success is not guaranteed.
That part.
Listen. Oh my goodness. It is, because I know I was giving God all my list. I said, Lord, I'm single. I have a whole mortgage. Okay. I just bought a whole house, and I have one, not a part, but a whole house, new car. I mean, I was just giving him all my list. And as I was giving him my list, he was also reassuring me that, baby girl, I got you. So for me, it was a faith move, but I would never tell someone to leap, because it's going to take, look, even with God's obedience, even with his instruction and yes, in green light, I should say, every day you wake up, it's a recommitment.
Yes. That
to self. And like, all right, now I know that first week for me in entrepreneurship was like, all right, Lord, I'm out here. Okay, so what's the next thing? And it's literally listen, we can laugh about it
because we all been there.
Like, I'm in the floor like, Jesus, I got my vision board, I got all these things out. This was like 11 years ago. Like, all these things out, laid out, the word of God, a clean sheet of paper, like, with whatever you're gonna speak through right now, I need you to speak. Like, I know you said yes, but okay, we here now. I didn't already left.
Yes.
So
yes.
But all of those things are important. So the point of what I'm saying is that you want to definitely have the plan. You don't want to drag out the plan. But when you do it, we have to daily, right? Almost second by second, you have to stay in alignment and in tune to what he said in his instruction, because his instruction is going to lead to the success. So with that being said, how does one's let's talk about this personal finance and how it aligns with your business finance. Because if we're not a good steward over the personal, like, how are you going to wake up one day and like, oh, I'm gonna make sure all my business and stuff? So I think it's directly correlated from, my experience and knowledge. But what will you say when we talk about mastering your personal finance to get to financial freedom, build a business, so on and so forth?
I definitely think the step one, whether it's business or personal finances, is knowing your numbers. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you don't know how much you're making and how much you're spending and how much you need to live, it's going to be very difficult for you to know when you've reached a goal point that you can quit a job or that you can scale back your hours and transition to more time in your business if that is your goal. But don't feel obligated, because I know plenty of people who, I did my business and I did my job for 5 years. It was a struggle, and some days I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I needed to do that until I knew this business is going to pay the bills, right? And that was my comfort level. Everyone has a different level in which they're comfortable making that leap. And like I said, God told me, so I was like, I'm going to listen. But I built my business and I gave myself a long runway to do it. I know others would have left much sooner, but I wasn't comfortable yet. And I hadn't had the permission, right? But needless to say, you have to know your numbers. So what that means on the personal side is putting your budget of your monthly income and your monthly expenses together, and hopefully being in the green, right? Or the black, as we call it, that you have some cash flow left over, that once you've paid all your expenses, you have additional money left over to save, to invest, and to put towards your bigger goal, which might be 6 months of your expenses, so that you can take 6 months off from anywhere, or a year if you want to be able to globetrot and do things for longer. But I genuinely think that's the starting point. And in your business, you need to know your numbers too, because if you don't know your numbers, you don't know if you're profitable. You don't know if the offer that you're selling is doing what it's supposed to do, because you might feel like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Every month you have to cover business expenses, but at some point you need to be profitable. The IRS will allow you to write off but so much before they consider it a hobby if the hobby's not making any money. Okay.
Ooh,
So
very
you have to know your numbers. Once you know your numbers, then you can create a plan. And you can always scale your income in a business, because you control how much you make, how much you work. You can even outsource and hire 1099 contractors to help you scale. So that's why I say, like, once you figure out the cost to do something and the cost to run your business, you can scale that. And you can use math to show you, right? How many new clients can I add on in the next quarter to get to this revenue goal that'll allow me to have a team that does most of my work, right? Like, that's ultimately the goal, because I don't want anyone to leave a job to go to a business and then be working for the business. Like, that's for the birds. You want to work on your business, but you don't want to be working in your business, right? And you're doing all the jobs, because then you just traded one job for another. But that works for personal and business finances, because in your personal finances, when you know your numbers, you know what risk you can take. You know if you can take a month off before you decide to quit, so that you can run your business full time, which is exactly what I did. So a couple of months before I did the 40-day fast, I actually took 2 months off from my job, more like a month and a half. And I used my business revenue to pay me during that time, so I could prove to myself and my husband that the business could pay me. And I didn't have to worry about the job because I was on leave. So these are creative strategies that you can use to prepare yourself mentally and physically for business ownership or full-time entrepreneurship. And then also give yourself time to strategize. In that month and a half, I strategized on what I wanted my business to look like. I set my schedule based on what I wanted my life to look like. And then I was able to execute on both. But start with knowing your numbers, and then you can always make more income in personal or business finances.
Whoa. Lady T, I'm over here, like, my mind is blah, 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 blah. Like, the chat is on fire here. People like, oh my goodness, I came in at the right time. This is just what I needed. Oh my goodness. And so you just said so much.
Oh, yeah.
Know your numbers, execute, committing to yourself. I mean, so many different things. I'm over here taking my own notes. Yeah, I'll be calling you. So you want to work on your business, wow, but not in your business. Otherwise, you have just traded spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, somebody in the comments. Are y'all getting this out there?
I feel like people's toes are stepped on. They feeling like, when did I just walk into? I thought I was coming to, just a sister to sister podcast, and I got yoked up, and I didn't realize I didn't prepare myself mentally for the beating I just got.
Yes,
but
I'm
it's
just
this wisdom that we need to
Yeah.
But it's
make
necessary.
the smart choices, because you're not moving wisely if your choices that you're making are not smart and they're not educated.
Exactly.
And another thing is, if you're not disciplined in your daily, like with your job now, time management, because you have a 9 to 5, but entrepreneurship is whenever it's done. And you talked about being able to delegate and build a team, all of those different things, and looking at your all of those different things are so important, and these are necessary check off points. You gave your time, you gave yourself time to, number one, for yourself, execute and make sure that this is something that you are able to do, because you have a family, you have all these other responsibilities. And so this is so good.
Yes, yes. Just I love it. I'm loving the comments. Savannah's like, I needed this. I believe it. But that's what I think is fiscal responsibility. I love the Lord. I have faith that, he has a plan for me, but I'm just not going to be in these streets and not know if I can make that next mortgage payment, right? My husband loves me to death, but he also has his expectations too. So it was a lot of faith, it was prayer, but it was just being responsible and knowing that you can make it. And I'm not saying that every day in business, I always know the next paycheck and when it's coming, because Lord knows there will be days, but I had a foundation, right? I had like a baseline, like, look, if I just wake up today, we gonna make this.
Right.
And then you go from there. And I think that's what people need to understand. And it's the same in personal finances. Your base is your salary, but you can always add to that. So, my husband and I, well before I even thought about entrepreneurship, we're like, let's get a condo. And then when we move out, rent it. Let's do rental properties for passive income. So I feel like there's always more than one way to make more money, and people need to think of that. And in 2016, I went on Google and was like, how do I become a freelance writer? Because I wanted to write about personal finances. And Google was like, set up a profile on Upwork, find opportunities and apply. And I kid you not, the first opportunity I applied to was the best opportunity for me. It was writing personal finance blogs for a Black millennial online magazine. I wrote for that same person for 5 years. And that was extra income, talking about stuff that I already enjoy talking about.
So creative, resourceful, like just being resourceful, and oh my goodness, like turning over everything, maximizing on all opportunities, doing the necessary research. Oh, this is good.
Mm-hmm. Just do the work, and do the work that other people are paying you to do at work. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, what are your skills? What's your expertise? Somewhere in the middle is your lane of genius, your zone of genius. Get somebody to pay you to do that outside of work. That's literally how my first VA became my first VA. She was like, I'm so good at keeping people organized. Let me work for you. Okay. Come on now.
It's so crazy because there's so many of us that are literally, we're like the parable of the talents, but we're the one that didn't multiply anything. You have so many gifts and talents that you're sitting on, whether you can braid hair, whether you can do nails, like all of these things that you can do literally in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to leave. You don't have to pay, rent, booth rent. You don't have to, you literally could do it at home. Whether it doesn't matter what, you can cook a meal. If you can cook a meal, then you can sell dinners. It's all of these things that we're sitting on, these gifts that we're sitting on that we're not multiplying, but we're always praying to the Lord for increase. Mm-hmm. Faith without works is dead. We have to do the work. We have to do the work. And I think there are so many people that want the blessing, but you don't want to work for it. And that's just not how that works.
Absolutely.
It's not. Wow, I'm just so full off of what you said, because these nuggets is like someone can take these, and this is what we're about here, sister to sister. It's about the action. Yes. Like one thing that really like gets me is like, we can sit here and talk all day about what we want to do, what we could have, should have, would have. No. I would love to do it. I dreamed about it last night. You didn't dreamed about it for 12 months. Like, so, but what are you going to do about it?
How are you going to get there?
How are you going? What's the middle? Yep. What is going to help you to connect the pieces and get to manifesting what it is you want? And it's the action. It's the action. And so for anybody who, and I definitely and want to get to before we close out today? You have to tell us about this hotel, these hotels, and all these other things that you're doing. But if someone, you just gave us the steps, right? For anybody, whether or not they're on this personal finance journey or looking to build a business, it's really taking the time to evaluate. What I say, evaluate, activate, so you can elevate, right? Taking that time to do that work, and not just saying that what you want to do. So if someone is getting started today, so you actually host workshops or you have this writing, like, how do they plug in with you?
Oh, great. Great question. So thepurposeofmoney.com is my website. That's where you can dive in on the blogs and even the podcast episodes that cover everything from starting a business to life insurance, building wealth. I've collaborated with women just like you who have great stories to tell, and they're sharing their how-to steps. If you want to work with me personally, I do offer a free consultation. You can grab the link on thepurposeofmoney.com and set up a call with me where we can talk about, what is something that's really, really holding you back and how can I help you get past that struggle or that challenge. I think that coaching, first thing we do in coaching is figure out your baseline and where you are financially so we can give you a plan to move forward. So I crunch numbers, I do debt payoff plans, I do everything that you need to really get the foundation to be successful. And so a lot of people will do that with me and my team and get that real big picture understanding. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this, and I need y'all to hear me. Building wealth is sometimes slow and not so sexy. And what I mean by that is, like, the first couple of years of my career as a government employee, all I did was keep putting money into my Roth IRA. I opened at 16, got life insurance, put money into my 401k, and saved money with my husband for emergencies. Like, you have to start with the basics. It was not until 10 years later that I was like, oh, let's invest in these hotels. Let's invest in additional real estate properties. Let's leverage the home that we have, and we've expanded our family, so we're not going to move back into and turn that into a passive income asset, because that's when I had enough extra that I could comfortably invest in more riskier opportunities, but not necessarily have, a heart attack if my stock's not doing what I wanted to do today, or that investment, in someone's business doesn't pan out the way that I wanted it to. Because now I have the extra capital and the money that I'm willing to lose, that's what I call it, where I will make those personal investments in people's businesses and more riskier opportunities. But I started out with the foundation. I started out with saving in my regular job 401k. So please don't think that you got to give me your last dollar and think I'm going to turn it into a Jolly Green stock, when you really need an emergency fund and you really need to leverage your free money from your employer and things like that first.
Ooh.
Right.
That's good. See, you like, ooh, you like, ooh.
Because it's just the knowledge is so rich, and I think a lot of us didn't have these conversations with our parents. I feel like because there was a lack of knowledge there, number one, a lack of know-how, and even if they were interested, where would they go to get the information, right? So because we have access, because we have resources, and because we have access to the knowledge and we know where to go, there's really no excuse for not doing or pursuing what you feel like you want to do or should do, because lack of money is not it. Because sometimes if the only thing holding you back is a lack of capital, then how are you trying to move forward in that? What are you saving? Even if it's literally, even if it's only $5.
I think also, like, with that, T, it's the mindset around the money, because some are afraid of investing.
Yes.
Investing in themselves.
Yes.
Just taking that risk. If you're scared to invest $1 or $5, then when you get to the big money, like what is it going, to be? And so I think a part of that, laying that foundation you were talking about, is really talking about the money traumas, the relationship with money. Before I can show you how to build an emergency fund, it's like, let's have a conversation of, what's your relationship with money now? What are we doing? What are you, doing? And so all of that is so important, and it's real that, like you said, the conversations are not being had. But that's when sister to sister comes in, because we gonna bring it to y'all. We are bringing it to you. The question is, what kind of action? What is the power move that you are going to make now that you have the information? I learned a long time ago with business that the information, it goes in, it forms the action, which is the action. What are you going to do with it? Come on.
You've been giving me some good ones. I'm like, I like the other one where you said elevate, activate. No, elevate was last. It evaluate, activate, elevate. I was like, oh yeah, I like that.
Yes.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then that's the other thing. I hate to say it, but in Black communities, we don't take the risk to invest because we're afraid of what's going to happen, and we haven't had the opportunities presented to us and have positive outcomes. But what I say to that is, everything comes with risk. Even not investing has a risk, right? If you don't invest, your money literally loses value. If you put your money in a mattress and then the mattress catches on fire, your money's gone, right? So there's always a risk to no action. There's always a risk to taking action. The key is to understanding those risks and being comfortable with what's involved. If you are a conservative person who doesn't want to risk investing in a hotel business because businesses can fail, then you still should be investing at a minimum in your 401k, because that is an opportunity to put money towards something. And in some cases, an employer puts money towards it too. So it's not all your money that will help your money grow. So I like to start people with where their comfort level is, because I think that's important. But you also have to understand that there is a cost to not doing it too. And when you don't invest enough to get your free employer match, you are literally leaving money on the table. I use the analogy sometimes, like, if you saw $20 on the street, would you leave it there or would you pick it up? Most of us would pick it up and they wouldn't think twice. So it's the same thing with your matching funds. Your job is literally giving you free money, but they're just asking you to put some effort in it too, and put your money in as well. That's it. And some people are like, no, I don't trust this. I don't trust that. And then other people are like, I don't think I can afford it. But I promise you, I found money for people that I've been like, the Ubers you take, you could afford it. The DoorDash you're ordering, you can afford it.
Absolutely. Oh, that is so good. So let's get into these hotels and this other whatever you want to add. Because I said, wait a minute, she better go ahead and lock it in. So
okay,
tell us about that.
How do you do it? So first of all, I want everyone to know that hotel ownership has been in the United States a very exclusive community where it's mostly men and mostly minorities from other nations. So Indians, for example, tend to own a majority of the hotels in the hotel space, and minority ownership from people of color like ourselves is like 2% or less. And then women ownership is even less than that, right? So we have to take all of that into context when we're thinking about a space that is not used to seeing us and is intimidated, honestly, when we come to play, because they're like, are you serious? Do you have the capital? Because it's also not an inexpensive industry to be in. Hotels are in the millions, multi-million-dollar projects. And so you have to have capital to make it really work. But what I learned from another wonderful friend, shout out to Davon Reeves, who is a hotel diva, is that you can collectively bring you and your friends together, invest together, and buy hotels together. And so there is what we call group economics that has changed the playing field. And honestly, it's not new. Other communities and cultures have been grouping their money for decades, for generations, and have been buying the block, helping their family members purchase businesses. So why shouldn't we be doing it too? So in 2020, Davon was on my podcast, The Purpose of Money, episode 26. She talked about group economics and how you can buy hotels. And then a month later, she had her first hotel opportunity that she emailed about. Like, it was just, hey, do you want to invest in a Hilton? Here's the opportunity. Let me know if you're interested. And, I'm a believer. I've made that clear, but I do feel like that God made that opportunity for me, because the first time she emailed about it, I missed the email. 2020 was my busiest year, AKA COVID. A lot of people were passing away, and life insurance was a hot topic, let me tell you. So my business was booming, and I was expanding, and I was working my regular job. And so I missed the first email, but when she emailed about it again, I caught it. My husband and I looked at the numbers, and we took that leap of faith to invest in a Home 2 Suites in El Reno, Oklahoma. And then after that, it just became, I don't want to say addictive, because I definitely haven't invested in every hotel opportunity that came my way, but most of them, when they came after that, I invested in those as well. And then just in July, my partners and I, interestingly enough, the same partners who we invested in El Reno together in 2020, we decided to come together and do our own hotel deal. And so we are the owners of a Wyndham in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And so it just comes full circle. God is so good, because even that project had its challenges, but every challenge God overcame. So I just want people to know, like, you can collectively bring your money together. You can pursue these goals together. But that's how you get started. Is one, you find your partners that you want to work with. And then once you find a hotel opportunity, you raise capital to be able to purchase. And then you might involve financing. I mean, we use we use a non-traditional bank on our deal, but there are traditional banks, that will give you credit and loans to do the purchase. And then you run the business. Okay. Because at the end of the day, it's fancy to say you own a hotel, but it is still a business. It needs to be profitable. The rooms need to be rented. The staff needs to clean. We got to have good comments on social so it gets booked again. So those are all things that really have to get taken care of when you're in my owner seat. But you can learn those things. And when you partner with people who have hotel ownership experience, like I did, it helps you divide the work too. So you can learn and grow with people who have a like-minded mindset, and they also have similar goals. But that's my, brief introduction. Definitely connect with me if you're really interested, because I do have other opportunities that come along from time to time. But that's how I got started. It's just leaping into one deal.
Wow. So when you first said it, I said, "Oh, those are the type of friends that you gotta have, right?"
Yes.
This is what release the. I was in service yesterday, and Dr. Michelle Waters, she said, "Release the theys, they who whatever they're doing, whatever all these other things, but release all of that so that you can make room for the fruitful, the abundant, relationships that God has already divinely lined up. But if you are too focused on lugging and trugging everybody else along, then you won't be able to, have space for that. But God brought it for a full circle for you, and was able to redeem the time, at the divine time for you. And that is so awesome. Like, let one of those emails pop up from me. Like,
okay, girl, don't worry.
right.
Subscribe to my list.
Right, we here, right? But I love it. And but now saying yes to, once you did your due diligence and you and your husband, and wow, so now having that formula.
Having that formula and then taking advantage of the opportunity. I'm not going to lie. Like my first deal, I asked 101 questions. I needed to feel safe and secure in what I was doing. Even though it was Devon's first deal, the people she was working with had previous experience. So they gave me comfort. But, it was prayer, faith, and then works, right? Like I had to put my money where my mouth was and say, okay, I'm going to do this,
Mhm.
and just going all in. And then again, like I said, I had the foundation, so what I invested at the time, I was okay if it didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
But it was my initial step in, and most people ask this question, so I'll just go ahead and put it out there, like, what does it cost to get into hotel ownership or hotel investing? And
Yeah.
it depends. The answer is it depends, because depending on what they're raising, depending on how many investors they want to deal with. I have seen deals. Our deal was as low as 15K to get into, but I've seen some where the buy-in was 250K or even $1 million. So
Mhm.
it depends on what the general partners, the people raising the money, the people who are actually going to have their name on that mortgage are willing to do, and how accessible they want it to be. Now, obviously at 15K buy-in, you are making it more accessible to a lot of people. So you may have more investors than most deals. And when you put it at 250K, you're going to limit, right, how many
Mhm.
investors you have. So that's something that comes with the territory. But since COVID, I would say the standard might be 25K at this point, because they have since, gone back to more of the standard, but 25 to 50K is normal. And then hotels, again, remember, you're buying a business, you're also buying real estate. So you own that land, you own that building. It is a
Mhm.
asset that you can
Yes.
continue to make money from. And the reason I like hotel ownership specifically is because it has multiple streams of income. You're
That's
renting the
right.
rooms.
Mhm.
If you have meeting space, you're renting meeting space. If you have a restaurant, you're selling food. And then there's other little things like the market where people can buy snacks, the Wi-Fi, if you're charging for people who aren't in the membership. So there's multiple ways to make money every given day, because the other perk is, unlike rentals, you are renting a room by the day. And you can charge one price on Monday and another one on Saturday because there's a concert going on or whatever. So you have this ability to change your rate based on demand, which also makes them very attractive. But I am also invested in apartments and small businesses and other things that I was willing to do after that dive into hotels. But I think that for me, it's real estate, right?
Yeah.
I have an interest in real estate. I understand now the hotel space much, much more than I did in 2020, but it's because I asked questions. I took advantage of the people I invested with for my benefit, because they had my money. So why am I not going to
Hello.
ask questions?
Mhm.
Okay. And that's what I think a lot of people don't do, is they don't ask the questions, don't take the leap, and just say, oh, that looks good, but I can never do that. And that's limiting. That's limiting
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. And even when the opportunity comes, you just said so much there. When the opportunity comes, if it's 15,250, whatever, like you said, do not lose the creativity, that, the creative space, that mindset,
Mhm.
because say if you don't have it right in your pocket, can't you have silent investors? And this may be
Yes.
something that we can
Mhm.
talk about
Mhm.
offline.
Yeah.
But other people that invest in you, that invest in the and you
Yep. Mhm.
don't know
Absolutely.
what.
Come together. People, I have family members join together to invest as a group, organizations, nonprofits, for profits. Like, yeah, you don't have to always have the money. Sometimes your friends got the money.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you have the connection, and
Right,
it's
you have the connection, you have the time to manage the deal. There's a lot that we can bring to the table, but people just assume it's always a capital thing, but it doesn't have to be. Now it helps. Don't get me wrong. When
yeah.
you have the capital, you can make decisions to not work with people that getting on your nerves.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that's an option too. But I think creativity is key, because that's we had that, and that's what made it more special to me, because We just had our investors retreat in Lake Charles, where we allowed the investors to come and bring their family and to see the hotel and to experience staying there, as well as learn what we're doing to renovate and to really get it back up to its top numbers. And that was transformational for the family members, right? Because before it was just, I sent you my money, I don't know what's happening, right? And now it's like, I feel it, I touch it, I see it. The mayor came to speak to them, and he talked about the plans for the city of Lake Charles. And it was just truly, truly transformational.
Yes, I'm getting chilled. Like, yes, Lord, come on, Jesus.
And I think you said something so important about not limiting yourself. And I think as people of faith, we do not watch our words enough, because you may feel defeated in the moment. That's okay. We all, we go through it. We, struggles with business, the ebbs and flows, and just in life in general, with whether it's your finances, whatever it may be. But we have to be mindful about what we're speaking over ourselves, because just because in this moment you may not be able to participate, or it may not be good for you or ideal for you financially, does not mean that delay is a denial. You just have to speak life over yourself and then take the steps to move forward, so that you can be prepared for the next time, or whenever the Lord is ready to release it to you. I think we just have to be really, really mindful about what we speak over ourselves, and to never say never. Never say, oh, that's never going to be me, or that's never going to happen for me. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know that you didn't just block a blessing with your words? Because there's life and death lie in the power of the tongue. So be mindful about what you say over yourself, and don't allow people to just speak anything over you either.
Yeah.
Yes.
Surrounding yourself with the right people in the right places.
So important.
All of this. Oh my goodness. This has been so enriching.
Yes.
Thank you.
Today. And the last thing about you, I mean, what we talked about, building the wealth. And you all who are listening, go back and listen to the replay. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. And definitely make sure you plug in at the purpose of money.
Yes.
Because, hey, you got it today. The question now is, what are you going to do about it? And so, but these assets, when we have to write, anything that you want to say about assets, because I think recently, and it really just kind of hit me. I was listening to something else about wealth building, and when it comes to our assets, we should increase the number of assets that we have, and reduce, of course, our debt. Is it any tip, anything specific that you would say about assets?
So this is a whole nother conversation. I know some people who are a believer that I shouldn't go into debt to accumulate assets, and so they don't like to take on any mortgages or try to pay cash. That my mindset is, there's a leverage that needs to be taken place. Don't take on any debt you can't afford to pay off. But to tie up your cash and only wait until you have enough cash to pay full for certain assets doesn't make logical sense, and can make you feel a little defeated before you even get started. So for example, depending on your housing market, to expect you to save 100% of your house before you can buy it doesn't really make sense. So taking on a mortgage to purchase a house does make sense. The question is, how can you make that asset make money for you? My husband and I have been married for 16 years, but in the beginning of our marriage, we house hacked. We rented out a room to some of his friends, a frat brother at one point, and then a guy who was new to his job and wanted to find a place to live, but didn't know where to go right away. So he rented for a little bit. That was a way to have someone contribute to our mortgage so that we could save that money for ourselves and invest that money for ourselves. So don't feel like, there's only one way to acquire an asset, and then you have to be 100% responsible for its cost, because that's just not true. And that's just one example. But Turo, renting out your vehicle when you're not using it, is another way to make money off your car. If you want that latest greatest car, but you don't want that latest greatest car note, How can you get someone else to pay for it? How can you write off some of your day-to-day expenses as a business expense and be able to still enjoy your best life? That's my other tip for the day. But if you are someone who has genuinely brought on a lot of debt, whether intentionally to go to school or unintentionally because you just made it rain every time you had a sale and you didn't realize those things add up, find a way to create a plan to pay it off. I work with people on that with on a daily, just to get them to see, first of all, knowing your numbers. Most people don't know how much they owe nor how much it's costing them because they don't even know their interest rates. I have so many people I meet with and I'm like, please tell me what's the interest rate on this card. They don't even know where to find it on the statement. And I'm like, I know it's on the statement because it's illegal for them not to have it on the statement, but let me show you where to find it. So before, and when you have that visibility, then you think twice about charging a hamburger because you're like, this hamburger gonna cost me twice as much next month. How about I just cash flow this hamburger or eat at home? You know, like those are the decisions people make when they know their numbers. So this all goes back to that original advice. And then for debt, you know, it does come down to comfort, right? I definitely think if you're going to take on debt to purchase something else, the something else has to be making revenue that will help pay off the debt, right? So I sometimes will leverage debt to get a hotel, but the business is able to help pay for that debt, or the dividends that I received as an investor will help pay for that. So just think through investments in that way. That's strategically, and it'll make more sense for you. Otherwise, it may be stressful, and money problems is the number one reason most people get divorced. We have stress, high blood pressure, and all these other health issues that are avoidable because you don't have to go into debt to live your life. But you do have to have information on how to live your life debt free, you know?
Yes. Woo! Listen, y'all, this has been another Sister to Sister. I'm getting ready to slide out my seat because this has been see, you know, girl, you know I'm getting excited. But if this does not make you just want to run and just get a sheet of paper and just get yourself together, because Miss Escarne just pulled us all up.
She did. And honestly, I would strongly suggest anyone, even all of the viewers that have watched it today, to go back and rewatch it, because if you weren't taking notes, I guarantee you missed something. I guarantee you did, because I know that I'm going to go back and watch it. And because she gave so much critical information, I mean, useful nuggets that you can apply in your life, like right now. So I would strongly suggest that everyone that's watching, you need to go over and make your way to thepurposeofmoney.com so you can read those blogs, so you can get your free consultation, so that you can get your financial life in order, because it will relieve so much of your stress to not have to worry about it, not having it play in the background of your mind every time you purchase something, every time something comes up. So that's all I got.
Listen. Y'all know here at Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. And I see you, Miss Smith. Great to see you, everybody. Great to see you out there. So glad that you were able to take a wealth of information, whether you came at the beginning, the middle, or the end, y'all. Go back and listen. You know, here at Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves, this is where we stay in the flow. And the flow is where we fearlessly level up, we overcome, and we win. And today we got some winning nuggets.
Listen, baby.
So, ACQUANIA, if you can just let us know where we can follow you. We see at the Purpose of Money, but any other places?
Yes, thepurposeofmoney.com is the website. And my favorite place to play is Instagram at The Purpose of Money. Don't forget the Purpose of Money. I'll see you there.
Awesome. Listen, everybody, we'll be back here next week. Stay tuned for the time check. But we are excited to continue to bring you amazing content, connections, resources that will help you to make a power move in your life. Take care, take charge, and God bless you. Have a great one.